Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Well, my guest today is a counselor. He is a clinical counselor, a psychotherapist with years of experience, lots of knowledge, workshops, and a whole lot more. Ladies and gentlemen, Joseph, is it Eliezer?
Eliezer, thank you.
Eliezer. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Now, one of the things I'm really curious about is what made you decide on that career choice?
I became a registered psychotherapist because initially I studied a lot in the area of spiritual psychology, theology, things of that nature. That was my entry point into studying psychology. And after about 10 years or so, I thought I wanted to enhance my skill set. So became a clinical counselor, and that sort of whetted my appetite, if there is such a word. That it made me, I think if you're a student of be it psychology or really anything that you're passionate about, if you feel like you don't have enough and you need more, and that appetite is almost impossible to satisfy. That was my experience when studying clinical counseling, which led me to study psychotherapy and so on, if you will. That was essentially it.
Okay, so now do you deal with adults or
primarily?
Combination of?
Primarily adults, but I think working with children is its own specialty. Mm-hmm. So I'll certainly work with people who are, say from their early 20s and up, put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking at all of the education you have. It is like phenomenal. I mean, when do you have time to work when you're going to school all the time? You're, upgrading constantly. I mean, it's quite interesting, really.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Again, I guess it goes back to the idea of passion. When you love something, you find the time for it. Right. And it just seems like no matter how much, going back to what I was saying before, no matter how much you get, there's a hunger for more, which really translates into not just learning more, but deepening your understanding. And I think in this field in particular, the more understanding one can gain, the more one can convey that to who they're working with, okay, which translates into the client having a deeper understanding of themselves. And I think that that's what people are longing for, to break down the estrangement between their thoughts, their emotions, and themselves, to be able to integrate, which includes their intuitions and their dreams, in addition to their behaviors, thoughts, and feelings.
Okay. Now, I've heard people say that because of COVID, more people become depressed. Have you found that in your practice?
I don't know that I've found that people have become more depressed, but certainly people willing to do this kind of work online, that has changed dramatically. And I think it's both from a client standpoint and from a practitioner standpoint. At one time prior to the pandemic, the idea of working online was, but when can I come in? And it's sort of, changed now to, well, I'm at home at this time, on this day, and I have privacy on this time and this day. Will you work with me, over the internet? And from a practitioner standpoint, it's proven to be far more effective than we thought it was back before the pandemic's been around that long. It feels like, yes, so I think in that sense, technology has really been a win-win in terms of helping people to feel less isolated and more integrated within themselves and their experience in life, pandemic or no.
Yeah, one thing I've learned with doing Zoom is like you can connect with people online, like a strong connection, or in person, right?
Yes. Both have their advantages and disadvantages, of course, but
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we're lucky to have this, I think.
Yes, you can reach a far more a wider range of people that wouldn't normally be able to come to your practice if they're living in another country or another province, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, you were a contracted counselor at Banyan Work Health Solutions.
Okay. Yes, that's true.
One of the places.
Right. Well, I think that, I mean, essentially, I'm a therapist in private practice. Occasionally, I'll get contact from an insurance company saying, "We have this client. Do you have room in your practice to see them?" So that's how that connection works, really.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But you're also a contact counselor at Victim Services of BC.
Yeah, that's true too. I'm registered with a number of places, and the Crime Victim Assistance Program is one of the places that I'm registered with. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're an author?
I am. I am an author of this best-selling book, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called Simply Spirit: A Personal Guide to Spiritual Clarity, One Insight at a Time. And really, the book is about teaching people. It's a reviewer once called it a spiritual primer, but I like to think of it as a book that helps introduce people to themselves. It's written in quotation form. It's available in paperback and as an ebook. But going back to the content, it's broken down into different categories, one on life, one on working with intuition, one on relationships, which includes interpersonal relationships and relationships with money, for example, which is an interesting dynamic in and of itself. So it's there's over 200 quotes in the book. They're all original, and it did go to #1 on Amazon, which I'm very proud about.
Yeah, you should be. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. Took 10 years to write this thing. So.
Oh, really? Eh?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Thank you.
You studied psychotherapy, psychology. What is it? Psychoanalytic Society. No, sorry. I have to start that one over.
Okay. Okay.
You studied counseling at the Canadian Psychoanalytic Society Western Branch, right?
I've done a lot of my training through the Canadian Psychoanalytic Society. Yes.
So sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
Oh, I was just going to say, to become a counselor, to get that kind of training, how many years is involved? Is it a long process?
Well, you tell me. I started my training as a counselor in 2002. I began training with the Psychoanalytic Society in 2009.
Okay.
And and it's been regular, as you mentioned earlier in the interview, it's been ongoing. And I hope to finish this leg of my training that I'm currently on sometime between now and the next 6 years.
Okay.
And if I'm lucky enough to be able to do that, then it would be something close to 30 years, I'm guessing, worth of training. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Now, you also, do you do workshops?
I do. I haven't. I haven't for a while, but I'm appreciating your question because I'm working on a new one. So yeah. So that is something that I'm hoping to bring out. I don't want to give a timeline, but it's a creative pursuit.
Right.
Absolutely.
Now, you have some acronyms here, so I don't understand that. I don't know them. To me, it's like a code. You're a member of CRPO.
That's the Ontario College of Registered Psychotherapists.
Okay. And you're also a member of ACCT.
That's the Association of Cooperative Counselors of Canada. I'm a registered counseling supervisor. I do clinical supervision in addition to.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. No, and so what is WBCPS?
That's the Canadian Psychoanalytic Society, and that's the Western branch. Is the sort of British Columbia. It covers Western Canada. Okay. So there are a few different branches of the psychoanalytic Society is the organization that Freud started in the late 1890s. And what happened was he was in Vienna, and his disciples, who you've crossed paths, I'm sure, with these names. Carl Jung was part of the Psychoanalytic Society. I can't remember, Sandor Ferenczi. These people, there were about, I think, 6 people that were sort of part of Freud's inner circle. And at one point, they all had to sort of leave to take the knowledge that Freud created and his theories, and sort of, he's like, they have to go, they have to travel. It wasn't enough to just keep it in Vienna. How would you practice psychoanalysis in France, for example, or in America, if one of these people didn't take the knowledge and bring it over? So that gave rise to these different psychoanalytic societies in different parts of the world. And in Canada, there's about 4 or 5 of them, the Western branch being one of them.
Okay, great. Now, well, speaking of that, like, are you licensed? Is that how it's referred to? Like, do you have a diploma up on your wall?
I have a couple, not on this wall behind me, but yes, indeed. Yes, I am licensed. So
are you licensed to go out of the province and work, say, in Alberta or New Brunswick or wherever?
Yes. One of the associations that I belong to, the Canadian Professional Counselors Association, is Canada-wide. And through the practitioner's insurance that I have, I am able to practice with people out of province or out of country. Most of the people that see me are local, mind you, but it's not uncommon to have, in this day and age, it's not uncommon to work with people in other countries, for sure.
Yeah, because especially with like doing it online, I was just, thinking about that question. How could you do it if you're not licensed to do it out of your province?
Right. There are some people that are not. It's interesting, depending on the certification or the association that you belong to. The College of Psychologists, for example, are not allowed to practice out of province. But the College of Registered Psychotherapists, they do allow for practitioners so long as a certain criteria are met. And when I work with people online, whenever you begin any therapeutic relationship with a counselor, speaking as a client, there should be, in the very first session, a document given to the client that's called an informed consent form that essentially outlines what the client's rights are, where confidentiality, the limits of confidentiality, things like that. I have one for my private practice and then a separate one for online therapy, specifically for online therapy.
Right. Now, in your private practice, you have a location?
I do. I'm located in Vancouver, near Vancouver General Hospital, near Oak and Broadway, where they're building that lovely new SkyTrain line.
That's kind of interesting. I was recently in Montreal, and where my sister lives, the SkyTrain is going right behind our house.
Wow. Yeah.
But that's progress, right? It is what it is.
That's progress. Yes. Well put, Nancy. Yes.
I just want to show people this because I find this so totally fascinating. Additional training workshops, conferences, and it's like this long. I think that's just so marvelous. You talk about from the years from 2009 up until this one includes up until 2016. So you certainly keep yourself well informed and well aware and well trained.
Thank you. I think it's I am still, as I mentioned earlier, I am still training. I think it's very important to stay current with the trends that are happening, sort of as society changes, psychotherapy or psychoanalysis or clinical counseling, depending on which way you want to go, it has to evolve with the times. So when people are dealing with matters pertaining to sexuality, the increase in visibility of the concerns within the LGBT community,
Yeah.
I think it's essential that a therapist have some awareness of what individuals are going through, that they're now feeling safer to talk about, that they can bring to a therapist's office and feel like the person they're confiding in has an understanding of what they've been living with.
Right.
And so please.
How do you keep yourself from not being affected by other people's pain, or you know?
I mean, I'd like to answer that both clinically and as a clinician. On the one hand, that is part of what the training is about,
Okay.
to be able to be present to another person's suffering, but not allow it to take you over
Yeah.
in a way where you can't function in your own life. You need to be able to be present in both places, and it's a very difficult balance at times.
I would think so.
Yeah, now it's no longer a requirement, but back in Freud's day, he believed that if you were going to be an effective counselor, which is essentially what he was teaching people how to do, then one of the core elements was you need to experience what it's like to be a client as well as a clinician.
Mm.
So I think that it's the responsibility of the therapist to do enough of their own work so that they can make the room for clients to bring whatever it is that they're challenged with, and be able to work with it where there's a healthy sense of boundaries, which for the therapist requires a lot of work. And I think the client needs to feel like they can trust the therapist, like it's safe enough to tell them whatever they want to talk about, and know that at the end of the hour, they can close the door and leave it with the therapist and it be trusted, which of course brings up the idea of confidentiality and competency with the person that you're working with, the therapist, meaning.
Yeah.
Hence the ongoing training. I don't think you can ever have enough.
Right. Because one thing I learned personally is that anybody can hang up a shingle, doesn't mean they're good at what they do.
Yes.
As I had that unfortunate experience years ago, and it just sort of puts you off. Anyway, change the topic.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, thank you. It's just, again, it's part of life, right? You move on,
Yes.
When you're away from your work, what is your downtime? What brings you, rejuvenates you, let's say?
I love the arts.
Yes.
Yes. So I will listen to music, I'll watch films, I'll read. I'm trying to become a better cook. I exercise. I like to travel. Is that the question? Am I answering the question?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. I think have healthy relationships with people that I can confide in, people that make me feel like it's good to be alive.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you a workaholic, by the way?
I don't know that I'm a workaholic, because I really value my downtime. And I think it's important that the downtime helps you to be more effective when you're working. And I guess as time goes on, it's a matter of how to keep that balance.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that part of your life that you're not neglecting, again, going back to Freud, he divided it up as work, love, and play.
Okay.
That's the essential ingredients of a full life.
Right.
So
that's awesome. Well, I think, I'm going to end it there, but I think you'll have to come back on the show, if that's okay with you.
I would love that, Nancy. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Just stay there stay on camera for a second. I just want to thank the audience for watching. This was Joseph. Pronounce your last name again?
Eliezer.
Eliezer.
Perfect.
So there's so much to learn listening to people and about their work and about what they do and about their passion. And that's one of the reasons why I do this show. So thank you, everybody, for watching. I hope you will stay tuned in, and see you next time, and be nice and take care, and peace out, everyone.
a sense of community. Chilliwack's a place to be, a sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see.